Welcome, everyone, to a deep dive that honestly pulls back the curtain on the really high stakes world of Indian cricket, where the lines between individual ambition, big money, and who's actually responsible can get incredibly blurry. We're going to explore a pretty significant Supreme Court decision that just came down. It involves a name many of you will know, Lalit Modi. Now, he found himself facing this absolutely monumental fine, 10.65 crore rupees. That's enough to make anyone's eyes water, right? But here's the truly astonishing part, the real twist. He didn't want to pay it himself. No, he actually tried to get one of the world's most powerful sports bodies to foot his bill. So today, we're not just, picking apart a legal ruling. We're diving into a major test of accountability. And it really resonates far beyond just the cricket pitch, I think. It's a proper deep dive into how liability gets defined when, well, fortunes and reputations are seriously on the line.
That's exactly right. And the fundamental question here, the thing we're really digging into today, it's a profound one for governance, really everywhere. It's this. When does an organization take responsibility for what an individual does, even a really influential one, especially when those actions lead to massive legal and financial fallout? In this case, well, it provides a remarkably clear answer, doesn't it? It draws a very definitive line between personal conduct and corporate obligation.
Yeah, it really does. And to truly get the weight of this decision, we kind of need to step back into the world of Lalit Modi himself. It's quite a world. For anyone who follows cricket or even just big sports business stories, his name immediately brings up the Indian Premier League, right? The IPL.
Oh, absolutely. He was the architect, the showman.
The Bollywood director of cricket. I like that description. Glamorous, controversial, always in the spotlight. Modi had this, undeniable flair for marketing and audacious vision. He basically transformed cricket into this global entertainment spectacle we see now. And he held powerful positions, BCCI, vice president, IPL chairman. He really shaped the league into the commercial juggernaut it is today.
Definitely. But his time at the top, as you hinted, was just as dramatic as the league itself. It didn't end smoothly at all.
Not quietly, no. By 2010, the BCCI, that's the Board of Control for Cricket in India, they'd banned him. For life, initially.
That was later reduced, wasn't it, to 10 years?
That's right, reduced to 10 years. But the reasons were serious. Allegations of financial irregularities, misconduct, these weren't just minor slip-ups.
No, these were significant charges. They essentially cut his ties with the very sport he'd, so profoundly changed.
And since then, he's been living abroad, mostly in London, quite removed from the day-to-day running of Indian cricket.
Which brings us to this latest chapter, this imposing 10.65 crore penalty, levied by the Enforcement Directorate, the ED. Now, it's important to note, this fine isn't for a cricketing issue per se. It stems from violating the Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA.
Okay, FEMA. Can you break that down a bit? What is it exactly?
Sure. So FEMA is a key piece of Indian law from 1999. Its main job is regulating foreign currency transactions. Think of it as trying to keep international trade flowing smoothly, maintain order in the foreign exchange markets, and protect the Indian economy's stability. In Modi's case, the specific allegation was that he held a significant amount of foreign currency abroad without getting the required okay from the Reserve Bank of India.
Ah, I see. So a breach of financial regulations.
Exactly. And violations like that carry hefty penalties because they can potentially undermine that financial oversight and economic stability I mentioned.
10.65 crore rupees. I mean, just try to wrap your head around that number.
That's astronomical.
It really is. You could probably, I don't know, fund a few tech startups with that, or in cricket terms.
Oh, easily sign a whole squad of top international players for an IPL season. Maybe more.
Right. So, with this massive penalty looming, you'd think the question is, how does he pay it? What was his plan? And this is where the story just gets wild, really. Lalit Modi, who isn't exactly short of funds, personally speaking, he decided not to pay it himself.
No. Instead, he made this pretty bold move. He went to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, petitioning them, essentially asking them to force the BCCI to pay it for him.
On his behalf. Quite something.
His argument, the core of it, was based on this legal idea called indemnity.
Right, indemnity, which usually means one party protects another from liability incurred while acting legitimately for them.
Exactly. So Modi claimed that because the actions leading to this huge FEMA fine happened while he was acting as BCCI vice president and IPL chairman, well, any resulting liabilities should be the BCCI's problem.
Not his personal problem.
Correct. It's sort of like, imagine a CEO getting a personal fine for something maybe questionable they did, and then expecting the company to just cover it. Is that a fair comparison?
It's along those lines, yeah. It's trying to shift personal responsibility onto the organization. And what's really revealing here is how the BCCI reacted. Their stance was completely firm, unwavering.
What did they say?
They effectively told him, look, Lalit, we're not your personal piggy bank. You broke the rules, you pay the price.
Wow. Direct.
Very direct. And it highlights that crucial separation, that line between individual liability and the organization's liability.
A line they were clearly keen to defend.
Absolutely. And they didn't just say it, they backed it up legally. They pointed out a really key legal point. The BCCI argued, and the courts have previously agreed, that as a private body, it doesn't fall under Article 12 of the Indian Constitution.
Okay, Article 12, what does that mean for people listening?
So Article 12 defines what counts as the state in India, basically. Government bodies and entities that have certain constitutional obligations, like protecting fundamental rights. The BCCI referenced previous major cases, specifically Z Telefilms Ltd. Versus Union of India. That case established that even though the BCCI performs public functions, like running cricket, it's not considered state under Article 12.
Ah, okay, so not a public authority in that specific legal sense.
Precisely. And that was critical. It meant the BCCI couldn't be legally compelled, like a government department might be, to just absorb an individual's personal financial penalties. It hammered home their point. Our funds aren't a safety net for your alleged personal financial missteps.
Right. And this wasn't even his first shot at this, was it? Trying to get the BCCI to pay.
No, not at all. He tried something very similar just a few months before, back on December 19, 2024. Took it to the Bombay High Court.
And how did that go down?
Not well for him. Not well at all.
The Bombay High Court didn't just dismiss it. They used some pretty strong language, didn't they?
They did. They called his petition frivolous and misconceived.
Which is basically legal speak for.
This is nonsense, and you're wasting the court's time. It's a strong rebuke from a judge.
Yeah. And they didn't stop there, did they?
No, they actually imposed a cost on him, too, 1 lakh rupees.
Okay, so not huge compared to the main fine, but definitely a slap on the wrist.
Exactly. It was the court signaling its displeasure, saying, bringing this kind of case has consequences. Like getting a parking ticket for parking badly in your own driveway, almost.
Good analogy. So fast forward then to June 30th, 2025, the Supreme Court.
Yes, the highest court. Justices P.S. Narasimha and R. Mahadevan presiding. They looked at the appeal against the Bombay High Court's decision.
And the outcome.
They upheld the Bombay High Court's decision completely. They essentially echoed the sentiment. They told Modi, look, you're free to pursue other legal avenues, civil remedies, if you think you have a case to recover funds somehow. But we are definitely not going to order the BCCI to pay this FEMA fine for you.
So a very clear message then.
Crystal clear. It was like the umpire raising the finger. Sorry, mate, this isn't a DRS review you can win. You're out. No more appeals on this specific point.
Yeah.
Which then brings us back to that really critical question, doesn't it? What does this all mean for accountability? Not just in sport, but maybe more broadly.
Exactly. So let's unpack that. What does this whole saga mean for you listening? Whether you follow cricket closely or you're just interested in how big organizations tick. This case, it's not really just about the money, is it? Even though the sum is staggering, it's fundamentally about who takes responsibility.
Precisely. Who carries the can when things go wrong?
And it feels like a powerful, really unmistakable reminder that even the biggest names, people with immense wealth, huge influence, they aren't above the law. Or at least they shouldn't be.
That principle is definitely being tested and affirmed here.
That 10.65 crore penalty, it's not small change for anyone. That's a serious amount. And the courts have been absolutely clear. The BCCI is not Lalit Modi's personal ATM. He has to figure out how to settle that himself.
Whether through his own assets or maybe exploring those civil remedies the court mentioned. We don't know how that plays out yet.
But the core message is stark. Individual actions, especially those deemed outside the proper scope of your role, have individual consequences.
Yes. And if we zoom out a bit, connect this to the bigger picture. This specific case is really just one quite dramatic thread in the very complex tapestry of Indian cricket, isn't it?
Definitely. The BCCI itself, it's a global powerhouse, controls billions in revenue. But it's faced plenty of its own controversies and scrutiny over the years.
Oh, absolutely. You think back to the match-fixing scandals in the late 90s that really rocked the sport.
Shook it to its core.
And then ongoing debates and demands for administrative reforms, calls for more financial transparency. It's a constant theme.
So in a way, this ruling reinforces a kind of financial accountability that maybe the BCCI itself has been pushed towards, even if it's about a former official.
That's an interesting perspective. It certainly highlights the importance of clear financial boundaries and responsibilities within the organization. And then there's Modi himself. His career, both inside and outside cricket, it honestly reads like a thriller novel sometimes.
Doesn't it just? He's no stranger to drama.
Not at all. There's this whole history of tax evasion allegations,
Yeah.
the ongoing extradition requests from India while he lives in the UK.
And the very public spats on social media, often quite fiery.
Yes, always grabbing headlines. It does feel like he's this central, perpetually controversial character in a long-running cricket soap opera.
And you kind of can't look away, can you?
It's hard not to follow the narrative as it unfolds.
So wrapping up this depth dive then, the Supreme Court's decision, June 30th, 2025, it sends a really clear, really loud message, I think.
It does. Accountability matters, even at the very top levels of sports administration, with the most influential people involved.
Lalit Modi, despite, his undeniable past glory, his huge role in creating modern cricket as we know it, he must now face the financial consequences of these alleged actions himself. The court has drawn that line. And this story, while it might seem like just another episode of, elite drama and mind-boggling money.
Which it is, partly.
Yes, it is. But it also serves as this really powerful illustration of how sports governance actually works. Or sometimes how it doesn't work, and where the lines of individual responsibility get drawn. Very sharply in this case.
Yeah. It really highlights that while we're all cheering for the sixes and the wickets on the field,
Which we love.
of course, but it's just as important, maybe even more so, to keep an eye on what's happening behind the scenes.
That intricate, often less visible world where the real power plays happen and where these crucial lessons about individual accountability actually unfold. So, thinking about this whole saga, what really stands out to YU? What's the key takeaway? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, about the true cost, the long-term cost of maybe cutting corners or operating without full transparency. No matter how influential you think you are or how high you've climbed, what happens when the bill finally comes due?